While everybody else was busy fighting over Sonic and Mario, there was another 1991 rivalry holding my attention. I'm of course talking about Final Fight vs. Streets of Rage, an all-out brawl that saw one of Capcom's biggest arcade hits getting taken down by a Sega newcomer. Today we're going to take that feud to the next level and see which classic brawler has the better ending. Now is the time to turn away if you don't want to know what happens next, because we're about to compare the final moments in the two biggest beat-em-up games of 1991, Streets of Rage vs. Final Fight. This is 23 Endings, the early years. When it comes to the feud between Final Fight and Streets of Rage, a lot of people like to compare the bullet points, which had more levels, more characters, a two-player option, and so on. We've already hashed this out in another video, so instead I want to focus on their stories and figure out which brawler had a more satisfying ending. Let's start with Final Fight, which was Capcom's biggest game at the Super NES launch. This is the story of what happens when unbridled capitalism goes up against the wrong politician. In one corner, we have Bilger, a crooked businessman who is used to being able to bribe the people in power. In the other corner is Hagar, a former pro wrestler who's been elected mayor of Metro City after promising to take a bite out of crime. When Bilger doesn't get his way, he goes personal and has the Mad Gear Street Gang abduct Hagar's daughter, Jessica. But let me assure you, he messed with the wrong politician. So Hagar tracks down Jessica's meathead boyfriend, Cody, and the two team up to punch every Mad Gear member they can find between here and Bilger's Skyrise. They fight in a moving subway car, through a seedy restaurant, and in Metro City's scummiest bathroom before finding the heavily guarded office building where Jessica is being held captive. It all leads to Hagar doing this to the crippled Bilger. For all the problems I have with Final Fight on the Super NES, I like this ending. In fact, I like the whole fight. We're expecting a big tough guy for the final boss, but instead we're punching a guy in a motorized chair. Granted, he's still a tough opponent, especially with that harpoon gun, but he's not exactly what you're expecting. I also like that they set up that he's in a skyscraper, only to conclude the game with him plummeting to his death. What I don't like is everything after the fall, especially that conversation between Cody and Jessica after the credits. You would think that a guy that just walked across town to save his girlfriend would stick around to celebrate, but no, he slips out the back and forces Jessica to chase after him. She wants to strengthen their relationship, but all he wants to do is beat people up in the streets. Yeah, it's easy to see why this relationship went south before Street Fighter Alpha 3. Now, when it comes to Streets of Rage, Sega didn't spend as much time trying to world build. Hell, I'm not even sure they named the city. Instead, they set up this simple story. A crime syndicate has managed to take over the once peaceful metropolis by corrupting the police force. Now, a former boxer, a martial arts master, and a judo expert turn in their badges to clean up the city the old-fashioned way, by walking left to right and punching people in the face. Alright, so maybe that's not the most original story for a beat-em-up, but what sets Streets of Rage apart is that it has a couple of different endings. You see, once Alex, Blaze, and Adam make their way to the Syndicate's hidden headquarters and come face to face with Mr. X, they're given an option to become the right-hand man to the evil crime lord. If one of the players takes him up on this offer, the two friends will turn on each other Double Dragon style. Now, if you beat the other guy and then still decide to fight Mr. X, this is the ending you'll get. Now, if you choose not to accept his offer, things play out exactly how you'd expect. He floods the room with a bunch of bad guys and then tries to take you down with an assault rifle. But our hero has come too far to die like this. He kicks Mr. X's ass, and this is what happens next. Instead of giving us the ending in one large chunk, we get brief shots of still images sprinkled throughout the credits. We see that with Mr. X out of the picture, the police force appears to be back to normal, leading the trio to watch the sun set over the peaceful city. I like the song and the message is good, but this isn't nearly as memorable as what we got with Final Fight. On the other hand, I like that we're given a good and bad ending depending on the choices we make. While I like Streets of Rage more, I have to say that Final Fight has a better ending. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of 23 Endings, the early years. So here's the question of the day. What old school brawler had the best ending? It doesn't have to be Final Fight or Streets of Rage, so let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. In other news, we're down to the final 4 episodes. I can't believe how fast this series has gone by. We're going to return tomorrow with a look at Vice Project Doom, followed by Ninja Gaiden 3. And what will the final episode be? There's only one way to find out. Click the subscribe button and, well, wait until the episode is uploaded. Until then,